All right, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, there's been a lot of Florida man news on Rising lately, but today we're going to take a turn away from Matt Gaetz to talk about the ultimate Florida man. That state's Governor Ron DeSantis. Now, regardless of how you feel about Ron DeSantis, I'm going to say this. I think he has probably been one of the most unfairly maligned people in national media since the beginning of the pandemic. The truth is that the media and many people, including myself at the time, thought his open strategy would be a disaster for COVID. And the numbers have simply not borne that out. Florida is not the best in the nation, but it is not the catastrophe that the mainstream media wants it to be. And thus, they have tried to seize on basically anything to smear DeSantis and make him appear like the worst governor during the COVID-19 pandemic. There have been a litany of media malpractices when it comes to Florida, but possibly the worst one I've seen to date stems from the supposedly gold standard of American journalism over at CBS News 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes is literally one of the most trusted brands in news. So when they report something, I listen, along with millions. And on Sunday, they reported what they proclaimed was a wild pay-to-play scheme in which Publix, a Florida-based grocery chain, donated $100,000 to Ron DeSantis' campaign. After which, he greenlit a lucrative vaccination contract from the state and integrated it into part of its vaccine distribution efforts. And I thought, wow, that's pretty bad. Positively Cuomo-esque almost. There's just one problem. While it's true, Publix did give DeSantis about $100,000, it turns out DeSantis had nothing to do with selecting them for vaccine distribution. Don't take my word for it. Take Jared Moskowitz, who is the head of Florida's Division of Emergency Management. And don't worry, this isn't some Cuomo thing where the guy is like DeSantis' hand-picked aide. He's actually a Democrat in the state. Moskowitz reacted to 60 Minutes reporting saying, quote, 60 Minutes, I said this before and I'll say it again. Publix was recommended by Florida's emergency management, Healthy Florida, as the other pharmacies were not ready to start. Period. Full stop. No one from the governor's office suggested Publix. It's just absolute malarkey. Yikes. So the Democratic head of Florida Emergency Management says that isn't true? Well, surely he was interviewed and featured by 60 Minutes, right? Yeah, wrong. But actually, it gets worse. DeSantis didn't sit for an interview with 60 Minutes, so they went down to Florida to confront him about it at a press conference. Here's what they played from that segment on their show on the broadcast. Let's take a listen.
We wanted to ask Governor DeSantis about the deal, but he declined our request for an interview. We caught up with him south of Orlando.
Publix, as you know, donated $100,000 to your campaign, and then you rewarded them with the exclusive rights to distribute the vaccination in Palm Beach.
So first of all, what you're saying is wrong.
How is that not pay to play?
That's a fake narrative. I met with the county mayor, I met with the administrator, I met with all the folks at Palm Beach County, and I said, here's some of the options. We can do more drive-through sites. We can give more to hospitals. We can do the Publix. And they said, we think that would be the easiest thing for our residents.
But Melissa McKinley, the county commissioner in the Glades, told us the governor never met with her about the Publix deal.
The criticism is that it's pay to play,
and it's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts because obviously I laid it out for you in a way that is irrefutable.
Well,
and so it's clearly not.
Isn't there the nearest Publix to the Glades is
you're
30
wrong.
miles
You're wrong.
away?
You're wrong.
Wow, okay, so DeSantis just shouted her down. He said he met with some people, 60 Minutes interviewed one person who said it wasn't true, and then he got all Trumpy and he shut it down. It looks bad for him, right? Yeah, except that's not what happened. 60 Minutes edited down DeSantis' answer to a question in which he actually gave a pretty lengthy explanation of how Publix was not first and how they even arrived at the decision and more. Take a listen to the full, unedited response. It's long, but it's important context.
So first of all, what you're saying is wrong. That's a fake narrative. So first of all, when we did the first pharmacies that had it were CVS and Walgreens, and they had a long-term care mission. So they were going to the long-term care facilities. They got vaccine in the middle of December. They started going to the long-term care facilities the third week of December to do LTCs. So that was their mission. That was very important, and we trusted them to do that. As we got into January, we wanted to expand the distribution points. So yes, you had the counties, you had some drive-through sites, you had hospitals that were doing a lot, but we wanted to get it into communities more. So we reached out to other retail pharmacies, Publix, Walmart. Obviously, CVS and Walgreens had to finish that mission. and we said we're gonna use you as soon as you're done with that. For the Publix, they were the first one to raise their hand, say they were ready to go. And you know what? We did it on a trial basis. I had 3 counties. I actually showed up that weekend and talked to seniors across 4 different Publix. How was the experience? Is this good? Should you think this is a way to go? And it was 100% positive. So we expanded it, and then folks liked it. And I can tell you, if you look at a place like Palm Beach County, they were kind of struggling at first in terms of the senior numbers. I met with the county mayor, I met with the administrator, I met with all the folks at Palm Beach County, and I said, here's some of the options. We can do more drive-through sites. We can give more to hospitals. We can do the Publix. We can do this. They calculated that 90% of their seniors live within a mile and a half of a Publix. And they said, we think that would be the easiest thing for our residents. So we did that. And what ended up happening was you had 65 Publix in Palm Beach. Palm Beach is one of the biggest counties, one of the most elderly counties. We've done almost 75% of the seniors in Palm Beach, and the reason is because you had the strong retail footprint. So our way has been multifaceted. It has worked, and we're also now very much expanding CVS and Walgreens now that they've completed the long-term care mission.
That looks pretty different, huh? Than what 60 Minutes put together. So the story itself is premised on a decision that the Democratic head of Florida Emergency Management says is false. 60 Minutes is caught deceptively editing DeSantis' response. Can it get any worse than that? Any worse for them? And actually, miraculously, it can. The Democratic mayor of Palm Beach, Florida, Dave Kerner, came out with a statement after 60 Minutes' report saying outright refuting the premise of their story, saying that the story wasn't just based on, quote, bad information, but that it was, quote, intentionally false, that he offered to speak with 60 Minutes and they declined, and that Palm Beach themselves are the ones who asked for Publix to distribute vaccines. Mayor Kerner's line was this, quote, "We have confronted this pandemic for over a year. Our residents, like all Americans, are tired, and the media is making it worse. They are hell-bent on dividing us for cheap views and clicks. 60 Minutes should be ashamed." Amen, Mr. Mayor. Amen. This episode is a textbook example of the Trump effect on our most important media institutions, when they hate somebody and are committed to pushing a narrative above everything else. All countervailing evidence goes out the window. And I guess, God bless the internet, because at least now we have the ability to get around these people. Their lies are slowly but surely being exposed for what they are. And Crystal, you don't have to like Ron DeSantis or any of this to know that this is an egregious mishandling of this entire story. The way that they edited that clip was completely ridiculous. And the fact that 2 of the leading Democrats who were involved in this thing are coming out to back him, these people don't like him. It's a swing state. They probably want to see him defeated come November, but it was so egregious and it maligned their own efforts in order to distribute the vaccine that they said, screw you, you're just clearly pushing something.
Well, and here's the other part of the Trump effect. You are helping Ron DeSantis
right
now.
Yeah.
You're helping him.
He's more popular than ever.
You're making him a hero among Republicans and conservatives nationwide. You've now had these Democrats come out and basically be like, this guy's doing an amazing job. Congratulations. Your hit job just made this man more popular and more likely, by the way, to be the next president of the United States. So great job here. Now, look, I want to say, I actually wish there was more reporting on these kinds of pay-to-play allegations.
Yeah.
For example, back when Andrew Cuomo was taking money from
nursing homes,
hospital industry, which owns certain nursing homes, and allowing them to literally write the language that went into his nursing home liability shield, I would have liked a big 60 Minutes report on that, for example.
Right, I agree.
And even this, yes, so DeSantis' explanation there of, look, this didn't even come from me. This came from the people who were running the response, the people on the ground, the mayor who was on the ground who said, we looked at the data, Publix was here, we needed this retail footprint, is backed up by the people who were involved. But still, I think it's important to know
he shouldn't even take the money. You should probably put that in there. He probably should just not take money and not even have the question. So, well, Governor, if you ever watch it, just don't take it.
And so I think you could have done this story.
Yeah.
I don't think the story's off the table at all. I think it's, the fact that he got $100K in from Publix, which is a lot of money, even in a state like Florida, and then they end up with this big contract. I think that's relevant. It looks bad. And I do think that that sort of public trust is important. but you can't make it so direct when the facts just don't bear you out. And so then you just hand him this tremendous talking point, this tremendous platform, and it's ultimately extraordinarily counterproductive. I'm sure there are legitimate lines of inquiry into how Ron DeSantis handled coronavirus. I'm sure there are legitimate lines of inquiry, including this, by the way, into how he has done as governor of Florida. One story that I saw that appears to be accurate is that they messed with some of the death data coming up to Election Day. They changed how they were counting the number of COVID deaths heading into Election Day to kind of suppress the numbers.
Well, they screwed that
and then
story
change,
up too. That's
change
the
it
best
back.
part. Yeah.
I mean, but it's so clear what's going on here. They saw at CPAC, he got huge numbers. They see in the polls after Trump, he's the most popular Republican. And so they see him as a threat from the Republican side, and they will stretch the truth to try to put on a hit piece on him, which ultimately, again, completely backfired, exactly like what they did with Trump during his entire presidency.
No, you're right. He's actually more popular amongst Republicans than ever. And he's also not an idiot, as in he's trying to give teachers in the state of Florida huge bonuses in terms of preschool and public teachers, getting the teachers union on his side, unlike almost any other Republican in the country. I did some stuff here, actually, even before the pandemic, pointing out all the different things that he's doing down in Florida. He's pro-environmental in terms of the Everglades, anti-sugar lobby, all kinds of stuff. I'm not saying he's perfect, but look, if you're going to see somebody who's like a much more competent Trump who's not dumb, it looks a lot like Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
And I think they recognize that. They're actually making him. I even saw some smart Democrats being like, guys, stop, because you're making him a hero amongst the GOP base.
Exactly.
And he can violate their economic orthodoxy stuff and triangulate towards middle class voters to not appear like a squish. He's like, you're helping him. So congratulations, 60 Minutes. But more importantly, look, this is still 60 Minutes. Yes, I know they screwed up the George W. Bush thing and all of that. But when they report something, I listen. And if they did a real package, so to speak, on Governor Cuomo and all governors examining, pay-to-play schemes and all that, it would be totally legitimate.
Yeah.
But that's not what they're doing. I just think it's a completely egregious misstep. And they've just been caught with egg on their face. Their response is, well, we edit all of our segments. And they are completely standing by it.
And
so,
leaving out these people who were intimately involved in the
Egregious.
response, leaving out their response, that's just journalistic malpractice.
Yeah, that's why he said intentionally lying. That is actually what they're doing here. All right.
Next on Rising, our super panel with Jennifer Holtzworth-Karp and Rachel Bovard when Rising continues.